As one of the world's leading economies, the United States possesses immense financial power, but remains significantly dependent on imports to sustain its growth. From energy, raw materials, food, and beverages to skilled labor, global trade is not just a driving force, it is the backbone of the nation's economy. However, under President Donald Trump and his America First slogan, the U.S. entered a period of trade tensions. Tariffs and trade barriers were imposed not only on China, but also on allies such as Canada and the EU. The administration aimed to protect domestic manufacturing, but can the U.S. truly achieve self-sufficiency? The answer is far from simple. In a world interconnected by globalization, the U.S. does not merely import consumer goods. It also relies on essential resources, crude oil, the lifeblood of industry, rare earth minerals, the foundation of technology, electricity, and raw materials, the driving forces of production. Protectionism may help domestic industries stay afloat, but the United States cannot easily separate itself from the whirlwind of global trade. No economy, no matter how powerful, can stand alone. International talent is the key to helping the United States maintain its edge in innovation and research. However, the Trump administration's hardline tariff policies have pushed even close allies like Canada into a confrontational stance. Beyond conventional trade sanctions, Canada is considering a powerful countermeasure, restricting oil and electricity exports to the U.S. If this happens, the energy supply chain could plunge into crisis, leaving many American industries struggling to cope. Beyond that, Canada is also considering restrictions on the export of rare earth elements and natural gas, resources that are vital across multiple sectors, from national defense to renewable energy. In an increasingly interconnected economy, these moves are not just retaliatory measures. They have the potential to disrupt global supply chains, triggering far-reaching consequences that neither side may fully anticipate. In 2024, the United States imported $129.95 billion worth of energy from Canada, reaffirming its status as a top supplier. Notably, this included 1.46 billion barrels of crude oil, $6.8 billion, 271 billion cubic feet of natural gas, $10.8 billion, 271 billion cubic feet of natural gas, $10.8 billion, 37 terawatt hours of electricity, and 10 million pounds of uranium. Crude oil accounted for the largest share, underscoring Canada's critical role in U.S. energy security. But the landscape is shifting. Canada is ramping up exports to the Far East, particularly China and Japan, in an effort to reduce its dependence on the U.S. with trade tensions escalating and new tariffs taking effect. The United States may soon find itself facing a severe energy crisis. The completion of the Trans Mountain Expansion (TMX) pipeline in early 2024 marked a major turning point in Canada's crude oil export strategy. This route connects Alberta to the Pacific coast, creating a direct pathway for Canadian oil to flow into Asian markets. By September 2024, major refineries in Japan, South Korea, and Brunei had already received their first shipments via TMS South Korea, and Brunei had already received their first shipments via TMX. The numbers speak for themselves. In the first 11 months of 2024, Alberta exported $2 billion worth of energy products to China, 5 times the amount from the same period in 2023. Notably, crude oil exports surged from $0 to $1.8 billion, establishing China as a rising key market. Japan is also emerging as a major destination, with Alberta's Minister of Environment, Rebecca Schultz, emphasizing in February 2025 the need to expand exports amid growing U.S. threats of tariffs on Canadian energy. Despite being an energy superpower, the United States still relies on imports to meet its industrial demands. Crude oil remains the largest import, totaling 6.1 million barrels per day in 2024, with Canada supplying 67%, equivalent to 4 million barrels per day through the Keystone XL and Enbridge mainline pipelines. Similarly, the U.S. imports 8.5 billion cubic feet of natural gas per day, with 7.4 billion cubic feet per day coming from Canada, primarily serving the Midwest and Northeast. While U.S. domestic production continues to rise, Canadian oil imports remain irreplaceable, as American refineries are optimized for heavier crude. Yet, with Canada aggressively pivoting toward Asia, is the United States on the verge of losing its most critical energy supplier? In 2024, the United States imported 38.92 terawatt hours of electricity, with Canada accounting for 95% of that supply. States like New York and Michigan are heavily dependent on this energy flow, especially in winter, when electricity is not just an economic necessity but a matter of survival. Beyond electricity, the United States imports 50 million pounds of uranium, with Canada supplying 20%, playing a crucial role in powering the country's 93 nuclear reactors. Meanwhile, coal imports remain low, totaling just 4 million short tons, primarily sourced from Colombia, Indonesia, and Canada, mainly for steel production. Notably, uranium imports from Russia have plummeted due to sanctions, further deepening U.S. reliance on Canadian supply. This dependence means that any retaliatory move by Canada could have far-reaching consequences. One of the most powerful options under consideration: reducing or halting oil exports to the U.S. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has openly supported using energy as a bargaining tool, even proposing a suspension of electricity exports, a move that could cause billions of dollars in disruptions, particularly impacting Michigan and Wisconsin, two states heavily reliant on Canadian electricity. However, the situation becomes more complex in Alberta. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has strongly opposed any move to cut oil exports, warning that such actions could devastate Canada's economy, leading to revenue deficits, job losses, and internal political instability. As the center of Canada's crude oil exports to the U.S., Alberta plays a critical role in maintaining energy flows. Any disruption could trigger significant upheaval, not just for the U.S., but within Canada itself. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is taking a cautious stance, advocating for a balanced response. The federal government is exploring alternative retaliatory measures, including targeted tariffs on U.S. imports such as steel, aluminum, and orange juice. Canada is not engaging in a direct confrontation, but is instead implementing a multi-layered counteroffensive strategy, one that aims to protect economic stability while avoiding unnecessary escalation. Ontario Premier Doug Ford isn't waiting. On February 27th, he called for early elections, seeking to solidify public support in the fight against U.S. tariffs. Ford did not hesitate to label the tariffs as an attack on Ontario, emphasizing that Canada must respond forcefully. But Ford isn't alone. Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party and a leading contender to replace Justin Trudeau, also vowed strong retaliation should the U.S. tariffs be enforced. He pledged to implement precise countermeasures targeting the U.S. economy, making it clear that Canada will not back down under any pressure. However, the backlash extends beyond politics. In Ottawa, a local entrepreneur launched the Canada is not for sale movement, responding to Trump's controversial remark that Canada could become the 51st U.S. state. The campaign's signature hats quickly went viral, especially after Doug Ford publicly wore one during a meeting with Trudeau, sparking tens of thousands of orders. This movement is no longer just a campaign. It has become a symbol of national pride, delivering a bold message about Canada's economic independence. As tensions escalate, financial markets are reacting swiftly. The Canadian dollar, loonie, rose 0.2%, trading at 1.14350 UST, marking a 0.9% gain for the week after recovering from its lowest level in nearly 5 years. Concerns over new tariffs also pushed oil prices higher, reflecting market sentiment closely tracking every move by the Canadian government. Pause for a moment. If you're finding this video useful, hit the like button right now. It not only helps this video reach more people, but also lets us know that you want more high-quality content. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. Every opinion you share helps spark a lively and valuable discussion. Thank you for being here. Now, let's get back to the exciting content ahead. Trade tensions have triggered a rare phenomenon in Canada: nationwide political unity. Despite party affiliations, the provinces of Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec now stand on the same front, backing firm countermeasures to protect the economy. But the opposition isn't just political. Canadians are outraged. Social media campaigns are surging, protests are spreading, and calls for boycotting U.S. goods are gaining momentum. Frustration has reached its peak, transforming a trade dispute into an all-out confrontation. And what if Canada actually cuts or reduces oil exports to the U.S.? The consequences would go far beyond mere statistics. The U.S. energy supply chain would be thrown into turmoil, driving prices skyward. States like Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, heavily dependent on Canadian crude and electricity, would face severe shortages. If Canada actually reduces oil exports, the fallout wouldn't just hit the U.S., it would also deliver a heavy blow to Canada's own economy. Crude oil is a major revenue source, and any significant decline could slow GDP growth, increase unemployment in the energy sector, and strain provincial budgets. Among the hardest hit would be Alberta, the heart of Canada's oil industry. A sharp downturn could escalate tensions between the provincial government and Ottawa, pushing Alberta into a direct standoff with the federal government. A combination of economic downturn and rising inflation would further complicate Canada's financial landscape. But this isn't just a domestic issue. Cutting oil exports wouldn't only cripple the U.S. energy market, it could also push diplomatic relations into dangerous territory. Washington could retaliate with sweeping sanctions, escalating the trade conflict, and threatening the USMCA agreement, a cornerstone of North American economic cooperation. Beyond oil, Canada holds another strategic card: electricity. As one of the largest electricity suppliers to the U.S., Canada operates an integrated power grid for seamless exports. Any disruption in this supply could send shockwaves across American industries, drive electricity prices higher, and trigger an unpredictable domino effect throughout the U.S. economy. Beyond oil, Canada holds another strategic card: electricity. As one of the largest electricity suppliers to the U.S., Canada operates an integrated power grid for seamless exports. Any disruption in this supply could send shockwaves across American industries, drive electricity prices higher, and trigger an unpredictable domino effect throughout the U.S. economy. The impact would go far beyond rising utility bills. Heavy industries, agriculture, and tech sectors, all of which rely on affordable energy, would suffer significant setbacks, leading to reduced productivity, weaker economic growth, and declining investment. New York, Minnesota, and Michigan, which heavily depend on Canadian electricity, could experience crippling shortages, harming local economies and increasing job losses. But the fallout wouldn't stop there. U.S.-Canada trade totaled $1.1 trillion in 2023, and any escalation could fracture long-term economic cooperation. If the U.S. is forced to seek alternative energy deals, the risk of retaliatory measures would intensify, pushing both economies into a spiraling conflict with no clear resolution. Soaring electricity prices are more than just a number on a bill, they are a financial burden weighing down millions of American households. With the cost of living already at record highs, a surge in energy prices would only make it harder for families to stay afloat in the fight against inflation. The stakes become even higher during summer and winter when electricity demand spikes. If supply is restricted, the power grid could become unstable, increasing the risk of widespread blackouts and service disruptions. In extreme cases, energy shortages could pose a public health crisis, especially as heating and cooling become essential in extreme weather conditions. But that's not all. The ripple effect of rising electricity prices would spread throughout the economy, driving up production costs for food, consumer goods, manufacturing, and more. Purchasing power would shrink, inflation would accelerate, and economic growth could stall, potentially pushing the U.S. into a crisis. That's a wrap for today's video. We truly appreciate your time and support in watching this video. If you found this content helpful or inspiring, show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to stay connected with our community. Your support means the world to us, helping us bring even more high-quality content your way. And don't forget, another exciting video is waiting for you right now on the screen.